The Philippines is a maritime archipelagic nation. The Philippines' exclusive economic zone covers an estimated 2.2 million square kilometers of water. In the West Philippine Sea, an estimated $3.3 trillion of trade passes annually. We sit with thought leaders who will give us their personal experiences on national security. I'm Attorney Jimeno, and this is The Way Forward. Lieutenant General Juancho Saban was a member of the Philippine Military Academy class of 1978. He is the first Marine to graduate from the Naval War College in the United States. Among his notable positions are as Commandant of the Philippine Marine Corps and the Commander of the Western Command, covering the entire province of Palawan and its adjacent waters. General Juancho, it's a pleasure to have you here. Welcome to The Way Forward.
Thank you too, Karen, for inviting me.
General, let's start with your experience as Westcom Commander. Can you give us an overview of your duties at that time?
Well, I assumed as commander of Western Command in August of 2010. At the time, I think much of our responsibility concerns activities not only of our Philippine Armed Forces, but also those of claimant countries in West Philippine Sea. And at that time, up to now, we are occupying 9 islands and islets as well as shoals. And we are proud that we are still there defending our territory.
When you say occupy, you mean the Marine, the military are occupying these islands?
Yes, in fact, we started in the early 70s. At the time when Marines were assigned to the West Philippine Sea, we called it Kalayaan Island Group, a battalion of Marines who will be deployed there coming from Manila, Fort Bonifacio. We're not informed of their mission. It was a top secret mission going to the islands.
Is it true that during your term as Westcom Commander, you've had instances where you accosted Chinese fishermen in Philippine shores?
Yes, a lot of them. I think maybe some of them are still in prison here in Palawan Provincial Jail. Because at the time, we were very active, very aggressive in apprehending intruders. And we turned them over to the Palawan Council for Sustainable Development, who eventually filed cases against them for violations of our own fisheries laws. And a lot of them have been imprisoned immediately after the filing of cases for violation of fisheries laws.
During your term as Westcom Commander, did you have experiences with Chinese vessels or any other type of conflicts between Chinese vessels and the Philippines?
During my time, the most serious incident that we experienced was when seismic survey boat of one of the companies conducting oil exploration in Reed Bank sometime in March of 2011 was harassed and for 2 days chased by Chinese vessels. At the time, this service contract was under Forum Energy, and their president called me up, and they reported that they would think of backing out of the exploration. I told them it's almost done. I'll be sending vessels there and aircrafts. But when the aircraft went to that area, the Chinese vessels disappeared.
What would be your insights in terms of what's needed to protect the oceans and the fishermen, the constituents in the West Philippine Sea from these conflicts with China?
First, I told the higher authorities that we should civilianize the area. Up to now, only Pag-asa Island, the biggest island, is occupied by civilians. We have a lot of marine resources in that area. And we could put up cold storage plants, wharves, so that fishermen can come and go. Right now, the Chinese vessels, as reported, are now dominating most of the Kalayaan Island Group. I also recommended that we should internationalize the issue. I mean, it should be known globally that these are our resources included in our exclusive economic zone, as mandated by the International Tribunal, which later on was decided. Another recommendation would have been a code of conduct among claimant countries. But I think China does not want to have a multilateral agreement on this. They would rather do the bilateral because they can leverage themselves against the other claimant countries if they do it bilaterally. Another recommendation that I made at the time was to strengthen the ASEAN allied engagement. This would give most of the claimant countries who are members of ASEAN to do a better negotiation against China in terms of the territories claimed by each country.
It seems like your recommendation for internationalization, or what you said is the international recognition of the Philippines having a right to these territories, was fulfilled when we were able to get the favorable ruling at The Hague. Has there been a change that you see from the time that we were able to get that favorable ruling?
Physically, in the West Philippine Sea, the Chinese became more aggressive. They have these swarming tactics where they occupy reefs, and as reported lately, they are harvesting all the corals there. That's true. What's good about it is there are now more countries who are supportive of our claims.
What are your insights in terms of potentially resolving this conflict with the West Philippine Sea under this current administration?
I think the first thing that we should do is to modernize our armed forces. We should have a credible defensive stance against all intruders. Maybe at present, for the meantime, we should put up coast watch stations so that we can monitor our maritime domain. Aside from coast watch stations, we should put up lighthouses because lighthouses are symbols of baselines. We should ask our higher authorities, especially Congress and Senate, to allocate more funds to cover all this modernization.
General, I'm sure one of the things that would be an issue would be the source of funds. They'd say that, okay, well, there's not enough source of funds. How do you think that can be addressed?
I do not agree with that. We have a lot of funds. We can even provide confidential funds for offices which do not need confidential or intelligence funds. Why don't we just channel all of this to fund all these needs that we have to do in order to protect our territory?
Now that we're talking about security, I'm going to shift to a different type of security, which is energy security. The Malampaya gas field, this was also within your jurisdiction as Westcom commander before. Can you give us a background of how the Malampaya was developed?
If you look at Palawan continental shelf, it's adjacent to Brunei and Malaysia, who are rich in oil, and we have the same continental shelf. We learned that there is Galok oil field, a submarine oil field, so we need to explore more. And a bigger Malampaya oil field is Reed Bank. I think that is why China is so aggressive. Reed Bank is, according to experts, 20 times more than Malampaya. So Reed Bank is just 30 miles from Malampaya.
Do you think that private initiative is worth exploring in terms of, for example, exploiting the Reed Bank?
Yes, that will be good for our country to let private corporations come in. However, we always have PNOC as one of the shareholders.
What would you say would be something that the government can pursue pragmatically as a strategy in order to really, at the end of the day, also secure the interests of the fishermen and the constituents in the West Philippine Sea?
I believe there should be a concerted effort of all Filipinos to support all this undertaking. I believe with the expertise of a lot of Filipinos, we can explore, exploit, and utilize our resources there.
Very well said, General Juancho. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us.
Thank you too, Karen, for inviting me. I hope this will benefit the Filipino people.
I'm sure it will, General. I'm Attorney Karen Jimeno, and this is The Way Forward. When we return, we discuss the future of the Philippine Navy with Flag Officer in Command Vice Admiral Toribio Adasi Jr.
Yung West Philippine Sea naman, matagal na namang inaangkin ng Pilipinas. Kaya mas sinasabi namin, kami mga isda, atin pa rin yung West Philippine Sea. Hindi yung atin na, inaagaw pa rin nila. Pero pag tayo naman yung papasok, hindi naman nila payagan. Kaya malaking problema to sa usapin ng Pilipinas.
PRRM has spent over 7 decades in rural development. We were biased in favor of farmers, and the fisherfolk told us, food is not just rice, it is also fish. The Philippines is more than 300,000 square kilometers of land. Our exclusive economic zone is 2.2 million square kilometers. We are the 15th largest fishing nation in the world. The Philippines is a maritime and archipelagic nation, or MANA. Mana natin ito. We must defend it.
So ang masabi ko po doon sa ating national government ay mapansin palagi yung mga mangisda para naman mabigyan ng tulong. Nakakalungkot po sapagkat ayon doon sa pinaglaban ng ating gobyerno ay talagang yung lugar na yun ay sa atin. Dahil mismong sarili nating bayan ay nataboy tayo ng mga katabing bansa natin. At sana ay paglaban ng ating gobyerno na manatili silang makapangisda doon sa karagatan.
This is the way forward. Vice Admiral Toribio Adasi Jr. is the Philippine Navy's highest officer who serves as the 40th and current Flag Officer in Command of the Philippine Navy. As Flag Officer in Command, Adasi vowed to strengthen the Navy's forces by supporting the modernization program while intensifying naval operations within the West Philippine Sea. Admiral June, welcome to the way forward.
Thank you very much, Karen. It's an honor to be invited to your program.
You've had this vast experience in maritime security, and given what you've seen so far, with the location of the Philippines, the fact that it's an archipelago, what kind of security should we be providing our oceans, and how does this relate to land security?
We have to have a strong maritime security posture because if we can protect our seas, then we also protect our coastal communities and our lands. But what we lack as a nation are the hardware, the people, and the competence to operate this hardware and these systems so that we can properly protect our seas. The Navy, for example, we need ships that can patrol our exclusive economic zone. We need more people to man the ships. And of course, if we have the ship, we should have the modern systems that go along with these platforms. We operate under a tight budget. It's not enough.
Admiral June, are we going to see, for us Filipino citizens, are we going to see some of the support of the administration for the modernization program of the Navy?
We have in the pipeline 2 corvettes and 6 offshore patrol vessels currently in production in South Korea.
In terms of strengthening the maritime forces of the Philippines, do you think having bilateral arrangements in order to provide additional training or perhaps the additional hardware through grants is something that would be a good alternative?
Yes, I believe in forging alliances and partnerships, especially with the like-minded nations or countries who share the same maritime interests with us. We do training activities, and this capacitate our men, and at the same time enables us to be exposed to the methods of war and the new equipment being used by these foreign navies.
In the face of contradicting claims in the West Philippine Sea, can you give us an idea of the current status in that area and what the Philippine Navy is doing?
We occupy 9 futures, and we claim them as part of our Philippine territory, and rightly so because we have the legal mandate to support it. Even though we have a lesser number of ships compared to other countries, we regularly do patrols, and that makes up for the lack in quantity.
With respect to civilians like fisher folks, do you feel that there's some program that should be targeted towards protecting them, particularly for fisher folks that rely on the West Philippine Sea for their livelihood?
Yes, the regular patrols of our ships there assures our fisher folks that we are there and we are ready to protect them. Sometimes they are challenged also by the presence of maritime militia from say from China, from other ships also from other states.
In your opinion, are there any methods or approaches that can be adopted to protect the resources or our territories in the West Philippine Sea that is non-combatant?
I always believe in interagency collaboration. The business of protecting the West Philippine Sea and all of our maritime environment rests not only on the military, on the Navy, not only on the Coast Guard, but it includes all agencies of government and even the ordinary Filipino citizens. We have to invest on our maritime industry, our maritime agencies. But suffice for me to say that the leadership of the armed forces and the Department of National Defense is looking into ways in order to finance our modernization program.
In terms of the developments with the escalating tensions in the West Philippine Sea, do you think there's something that needs to be changed in the way we, one, carry out policy or the way we address conflicts with other countries, other jurisdictions?
Well, of course, we promote always a rules-based approach to the issues in our maritime environment. We believe in diplomacy and a peaceful resolution of conflict.
So it's really more of a whole of government approach, not just the Navy by itself. What can Filipinos like us expect in the medium to long term in terms of new programs or new developments that the Navy will carry out?
Unang-una, ang aming mandato is to protect the sovereignty of the Philippines, protect our sovereign rights, and ensure the integrity of our national territory.
Admiral June, if the Navy were to have a budget for the modernization program, what would be your priorities?
Only we have the budget, there are three things I would like to focus on. Number one is the completion of our desired force mix. You know, we wanted to have a Navy that is modern and multi-capable. They should be equipped with a modern mindset, with the technical expertise to operate this new hardware. And on the third thing, of course, the support system for our acquisitions and logistic so that we can sustain the operation of these vessels for a long time. Aside from that, we should have good bases that can house these ships and aircraft.
Do we have submarines?
Part of our wish list, it's in our desired force mix to acquire submarines.
What would be a strong military posture, in your opinion?
A modern Navy, a multi-capable Navy, a Navy that is manned by technically proficient personnel, a Navy that has good capabilities on the subsurface, on surface, on the air, and in cyber domain.
Thank you again, Admiral June. Our time with you has been very enlightening, and we really learned a lot with what the Navy is doing, not just with the West Philippine Sea, but all the maritime waters in the Philippines.
Thank you very much, Karen.
I'm Attorney Karen Jimeno, and this is The Way Forward. When we return, we discuss the current realities of Kalayaan, Palawan with Vice Mayor Beltsasar Alindogan of Kalayaan, Palawan.
Tingali kung makigdialogo ang atong presidente po sa China aron malikayan ang mga dili maayo nga mga panghitabo sa atong relasyon sa China isip mga amigo sa Pilipinas. Dialogo ang gikinahanglan. Ay mga barko nga naa sa laing nasod nga nakasud ko siguro sa Pilipinas sa mga Taiwan, Thailand nga dito ta nag-export ni hinuon nila ang kita hinuon nga mga taga Pilipinas wa na hinuon ta makakuha sa kahimo sa atong isda ni palit na hinuon ta nila dito sa taga-gawas nga ato man ang isda. Kung pwede maabot ang pingog dito sa kay Presidente Marcos nga moingon ko niya nga kung pwede lang kung unsay ato muoy ato ang ila dit na manghilabot sa ila dili pud ta magpahilabot sa ato ang ato ug gikuha nila ang ato atong bawion.
Yung West Philippine Sea atin yun dahil nasa loob ng ating par. Ayun, talaga dapat niya kausapin yung presidente ng China para mag-usap sila para Kung ano man ang mapag-usapan nila, mapalis talaga yung Chinese vessel doon sa nagbabantay doon.
This is the way forward. Vice Mayor Belcesar Billy Alindogan is the current Vice Mayor and Presiding Officer of the Municipal Council of the Municipality of Kalayaan, Palawan. He was accustomed with fishing and farming as their main livelihood before his family migrated to Palawan in the late 1980s. He became the municipal administrator where he pushed for the electrification, road concreting, and construction of ice plants in Pag-asa Island. Thank you, Vice Mayor Billy. Welcome to the Way Forward.
Thank you for inviting, Attorney.
Have you noticed yung change po from the time that, before when you held other positions and with the increasing tensions between the Philippines and China, were you able to see a difference then over the years doon sa mga nararanasan ng mga constituents niyo po?
When I joined in the Municipal Kalayaan sometime in 2008 until now, maraming mga pagbabago. So particularly sa nangyari ngayon, noon ay hindi pa naman na-experience ng mga fishermen natin, mga kasama natin doon sa Pag-asa Island yan. At ngayon parang bumibigat ba yung challenge sa lalo na sa amin sa mga mamamayan sa Kalayaan yung nangyari ngayon.
Ano po yung pinaka-memorable sa inyo or yung mga notable na experience ninyo with you or your constituents in terms of yung encounters with China?
May personal experience ako sometime in 2017 nung nagbiyahe yung aming outrigger, yung aming bangka na double engine here in Puerto Princesa. At kami ay dumaan sa Ayungin Shoal, yung area na kung saan medyo yun ang controversial. Then sabi ko sa aking mga kasamahan, we'll try to jibe near the Mischief Reef. Pero bago pa kami hindi pa namin makita yung mga structure ng China ay mayroon nang dumikit sa amin na dalawang Chinese Coast Guard. Kaliwa kanan parang ipiniprist kami. Then sa likod naman yung gray ship nila, yung Chinese militia. So kami napipilitan na parang ipapalayo ba. Dahil simula nung mag-standby yung mga Chinese ship, doon sa dalawang K, ay hindi na sila nakakapasok basta-basta doon, lalo na nung mga nakaraan. At yung nangyari, kung mangingisda doon yung ating mga fishermen, doon lang sa paligid.
What about, again, addressing that tension with China? What type of additional assistance or programs do you think would help from the national government in order to address the issues that you mentioned po earlier na, this tension is really affecting the ability of the fishermen to sustain their livelihood in the area?
Ang importante, ma-protect lang yung mga ilang areas o ilang kilometers yan within Pag-asa or na inokupaan natin na itong ating mga halimbawa Coast Guard, yung enforcement aspect na walang makapasok ng mga illegal poachers.
When we had the favorable ruling based on the UNCLOS, yung Foreign Arbitral Award, did you see the difference po ba? Nagkaroon din po ba ng improvement in terms of the conditions that the people from Kalayaan Islands were feeling, the fishermen? Meron po bang improvements?
Siguro sa ngayon, yung nakita namin ay nagkaroon ng focus, parang binigyan na ng focus ng national government yung development aspect na matagal na rin namin hinahangad.
Malampaya gas field is very close to your area, your jurisdiction. Can you give us a background of how the Malampaya gas field was developed?
Ang Malampaya is around 60 kilometers from the nearest barangay in El Nido. Parang hindi masyadong nararamdaman namin yung tingin ko yung direct na benefit ay yung hinihingi na para mararamdaman yung benefits ay magkaroon ng pipe direkta sa mainland Palawan.
So currently, in terms of electricity, I heard that Palawan experiences regular power outages. So ganun pa rin po ba? Kulang pa rin ang kuryente?
Yun siguro ang malaking issue na kailangan isolve talaga ng national din, yung ating electrification.
So pagka po, when you harvest, yung mga fishermen, how do they store the fish that they harvest? Kung kulang po ng electricity, paano po yung mga ice plant?
Mayroon kaming ice plant po, attorney, na i-provide na grant fund ng BFAR. Parang nakumpleto siya 2021. pero hindi namin nagamit pa talaga. Kung pagdating kasi sa fish catch ng aming mga mangingisda doon, halos naubos lang ng community doon. Nabibili siya.
Ano po yung palagay ninyo na kulang in order to allow the fishermen to realize more economic gains from their livelihood?
Kung ang livelihood mula sa fishing ay i-commercialize in the sense na yung mga huli ay ibabiyahe pa Mainland Palawan or pa Manila. So kailangan ng malaking bangka. Kumikita naman yung aming mangingisda noon pero hindi naman ganong kalaki.
Given your recommendations po, considering you and your constituents really have first-hand experience with tensions with China, pati yung mga encounters with their ships, do you think there is a possibility of solving this issue under the current administration?
Mahirap mahulaan kung anong mangyari sa hinaharap, no? Pero alam naman natin na may mga ibang bansa na rin, mga kaibigan natin, at yung national government ay ginagawa rin yung lahat para sana malisin o mawala yung tension. Pero sa sitwasyon ngayon, mas maganda na ang mga plano na magaganda, ng mga malalaking project na kailangan sa West Philippine Sea, talagang maibigay, no, mailatag. Kahit noon pa naman, gano'n na yung attitude ng China sa atin. So hopefully na sa mga ginagawa ngayon ng national government ay magkaroon ng pagbabago para naman ma-establish natin ng husto yung ating claim, yung ating occupation doon sa West Philippine Sea. Sa national government, unang-una nagpapasalamat kami na unti-unti ay mayroon ng mga project na malalaki na na-accomplish, na ipatupad sa Pag-asa Island. So kahit nasa gitna ng ganitong sitwasyon na aming naranasan, kami sa LGU ay patuloy na, lalo na kami bilang mga lingkod bayan, ay patuloy talagang maglilingkod kami at pinupukusan namin kung ano ang magagawa namin sa abot ng aming makakaya ng mga programa at proyekto kahit na limitado ang aming pundo. So, kailangan talaga namin ng suporta mula sa national.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Billy. Napaka-inspiring po ng message ninyo. And I hope, like you said, wag po kayong mag-give up sa public service.
Thank you, Attorney. Salamat din sa opportunity at salamat din sa mga viewers natin at nagiging aware na rin yung ating mamamayan sa ating sitwasyon sa West Philippine Sea.
Thank you again, Vice Mayor Billy Alindogan. I'm Attorney Karen Jimeno, and this is The Way Forward. The Philippines is a maritime archipelagic nation. The Philippines' exclusive economic zone covers an estimated 2.2 million square kilometers of water. In the West Philippine Sea, an estimated $3.3 trillion of trade passes annually. We sit with thought leaders who will give us their personal experiences on national security. I'm Attorney Karen Jimeno, and this is The Way Forward.
Sabi ko doon, isang malaking paglabag sa kalayaan ng mga mangingisda sa atin kung ganito lagi ang mangyayari sa kalakaran sa pagitan ng China at ng Pilipinas.
Hindi lamang siguro sa amin ang pinaglalaban namin, kundi maging sa susunod na mga henerasyon dahil ang ating pong buhay pangisdaan ay hindi po nagbabago, kundi unti-unti nawawala. Kailangan siguro na magtulong-tulong talaga.
Turing natin na talagang atin yung teritoryo na to at ipagtanggol ito, hindi lang yung mga nasa loob, yung mga mamamayan at yung mga mangingisda, lalo na yung lugar pangisdaan na panagkikitaan ng maliit na mangingisda doon sa West Philippine Sea.
The Philippines is a maritime archipelagic nation. The Philippines' exclusive economic zone covers an estimated 2.2 million square kilometers of water. In the West Philippine Sea, an estimated $3.3 trillion of trade passes annually. Next week, we sit with thought leaders who will give us their perspective on energy. I'm Attorney Karen Jimeno, and this is The Way Forward.
PRRM has spent over 7 decades in rural development. We were biased in favor of farmers, and the fisherfolk told us, food is not just rice, it is also fish. The Philippines is more than 300,000 square kilometers of land. Our exclusive economic zone is 2.2 million square kilometers. We are the 15th largest fishing nation in the world. The Philippines is a maritime and archipelagic nation or MANA. Mana natin ito. We must defend it.